The Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Planted with Sara Pion. I'm Sara Pion, your host, and today we are going to be talking about elevating the dialogue on cannabis culture with Michael Stusser, Seattle-based journalist and filmmaker and host of Higher Ground. I'm really excited to be talking with you today, Michael. I've been following your work for some time, and it's just really nice to be able to sit down with, a fellow inquisitive colleague who loves to geek out on all this and talk about engagement. So thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. I've been geeking out on your show as well. Very impressive lineup. I'm amazed I slipped in there. Amazing.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you on here. And thank you so much for the kind words.
Oh, yeah.
So first question, before we get into the deep stuff.
Yeah.
What was your first cannabis experience?
My sister's not going to like this. I have an older sister, and we were in New York City with my parents. I was probably 9 or 10. So she was 15 or 16. And we shared a hotel room at the time, and she wanted to get I don't think she wanted to get her little brother stoned, but she wanted to get stoned. So shared, I think, probably just a hit or whatever. And talk about dating me. Johnny Carson has never been so funny in the history of Johnny Carson. And then we ordered, milkshakes and stuff from room service. And it was a very positive experience with cannabis, which I didn't have again for another 10 years. Really?
Oh yeah, your sister's not gonna like that one.
No, she's not. She turned me on to something that's very important in my life, and so it's a good thing. But yeah, we do not advocate that people under the age of 21 or whatever are firing up unless it's a medical situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And don't feel bad about the Johnny Carson thing. I remember him too.
Oh, good. If you kids, put him on YouTube. He's hilarious.
He is hilarious. And remember, do as we say, not as we do.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what got you into doing journalism and cannabis and the Higher Ground? And I really love the Higher Ground series and what you've done with that. So I'd love to hear more about that.
Cool. Highergroundtv.com. Check it out. The craziness that we're doing. I think I've been a journalist for a long time. Went to school at Berkeley and studied journalism. And so was a straight journalist on all kinds of topics for 20 years. And have always been sort of a fan of the gonzo Hunter S. Thompson style of journalism. Think being high can sometimes give you a better perspective. But the reason we launched Higher Ground, I think, was that Washington State, along with Colorado, as you know, were the first people to legalize it. And I was still seeing just stoner stereotypes, mainly from mainstream media. But then among our cannabis community, in media, I saw a lot of the, all day, every day, wake and bake stuff. And I'm not judging any of those people, but I don't think that's the best way for us to bring about decriminalization and legalization and talk about cannabis. So we just started doing a series of videos with people like cops and teachers and, thought leaders in the community. And that kind of took off. We have a sense of humor, which I think is super important in a lot of this stuff. There's enough polarization and meanness going around. So we try and really sort of have fun with it. Even if we're talking to officers, one of my favorite series is the thing we did with law enforcement against prohibition. Officers who support prohibition but don't really use cannabis themselves, but understand that they should be working on more serious issues. And they also like the money grab from legalization sometimes that fun stuff that we don't love. They don't need tanks in communities and that kind of stuff. But it's a great dialogue, and it's surprising to most people that, oh, wow, this is 80% of people want the legalization of cannabis. So let's bring it about. Let's do it, So we try and have a sense of humor about it, and also just elevate it, like you said at the beginning, where we're not just wake and baking. And we go after some of those people. High Times magazine, sorry, folks, but they did something where a world record hot box where they put a bunch of what looked like kids. I'm assuming they were legal, but they just fired up this room and everybody got high and it was wasteful and stupid. And so we just came after them and said, this isn't the way to move forward. And imagine if a bunch of kids were swimming in a pool full of alcohol, and how would you feel about that? It's just a lousy example. And it got, a lot of people didn't like our series on that, but I'm standing by it.
I think when they have a new editor-in-chief now, Ellen Holland, who came from Cannabis Now.
Oh, good.
So I feel like, because she's incredibly talented, and I think she's going to take them in a really thoughtful direction. She already is. So I think, I believe that having these conversations about it is really impactful, because it does change the narrative.
Yeah.
Because it's, the traditional cannabis culture is a rich part of our history, but it can be really alienating.
Mm-hmm.
And from a policy perspective, and that's why when I do policy work, people will be like, "Oh, you got your suit and heels on. You don't even look like you smoke weed." And I'm like, yeah, that's the
Right?
thing. That's the ticket.
Yeah.
We got to have the conversations. And when, human beings, maybe it's outdated part of our survival mechanisms, but we tend to see somebody and make snap judgments on where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
for sure.
we have to be cognizant of that, especially when we want to have good policy. And people could spend the day in a dispensary, people who don't understand cannabis and may believe that, stoner culture is the overarching theme of people who use cannabis. But if they spend an afternoon in a dispensary, they would see that it's very different than that.
Mm-hmm.
And having those conversations normalization.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of folks, even in legal states, are nervous about just taking that first step and going into a dispensary. They see the head shop in their minds and they walk by it, and so we'd love to guide those people in, because, like you say, it's like being in a Starbucks, and it's safer than alcohol, as we all know. And so it'd be great to get more folks, but there's a lot of fear mongering and stuff. So we've done tours of dispensaries and shown the inside for folks and stuff like that. And then going back to the stoner stereotype thing, we did something with MJ Headline News, who we love, and MJ Channel 1, where we pretended we had bought all these cannabis brands like High Times and others, and the first thing we did was ban Tommy Chong from any of our news coverage or whatever. And we love Tommy. So we shared it with him and he cracked up, and we've had him on the show or whatever, but he was like, "Oh yeah, no man, I get it," or whatever. But it was just like a big X through Tommy Chong. And it's not to denigrate it's incredible going to jail and being a leader in our community, So I really love him, but it was just an example of how we're playing around a little bit and getting people's attention at first and going, "Hey, what?" And then they see, we're kidding. We love that guy.
Right. Even Tommy knows that, like, when we think about like stoner culture, I think Tommy first comes to mind. I mean, that's his amazing career. It has a lot to do with that.
Yeah. And I just have the respect for that. He's the only one who ever went to jail, and that his attitude is still unbelievably positive and cool. I don't know that I would have had that, so I really respect him greatly for that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Him, along with all the other people who have, done time so that we can freely do what we do today.
Yep, for sure.
It's super important.
When
you were talking about, law enforcement, I think it's really interesting. When I was the co-chair of the San Francisco Legalization Task Force, we had seats for city family as well. So, SFPD, Department of Public Health, all of that. And one of the things that the gentleman who was sitting in the SFPD chair had said was, our job is to enforce the rules, make better rules for us to enforce.
Nice.
And that when we are going into normalization and policy stuff, it's like, I think, and you and I have talked about this before, a lot of our policymakers, they don't understand how the laws that they're making affect their constituents. and that, and this is something we'll talk about today because you've been doing some really great, interesting work around this about engaging voters and letting them know, you need to talk to the people who depend on your votes for their jobs, that, you pay taxes, you contribute to society, you use cannabis, and you vote. We want to talk about that a little bit?
For sure. The first, before I get into sort of our project on that, I think it'd be nice, because there is a huge amount of frustration in the legal states about, they're rolling it out and they're screwed up. We've talked about the killer taxes in California.
Yeah.
Here in Washington, we don't have home grow, which is stupid. And I just don't want people to disengage and think, well, we tried legalization and they screw it up. It's a long road. It's amazing how far we've come, in fact, in 10 years. And yeah, of course, there's some messed up stuff. We got to get engaged, stay engaged, and make changes as it go. And each new state learns from all the ones that screwed up. So we'll get there. It's cool. It's happening.
Yeah. Policy is a process. And I think that's something that, people don't realize as much, especially because I think as a society, we're really disengaged with, like, you may have had a civics class or not, because I hear that they're not teaching civics these days. But, if you were younger, you're talking about learning about how, a bill becomes a law and different things like that. You can forget a lot of that and not realize, like, I remember when we passed legalization here and I was working in a dispensary, there were several people who came the day after and they're like, hey, I can come in now. It's legal. And it's like, no, honey, you pass it first and then you set up the foundation for the program, but it's a great way of creating engagement, because if you're interested in cannabis and how it's working and you want to see changes, then that can go out towards other things in the world that are equally, if not more important. Because as much as I like weed, there are some I would have traded out legalization in the 2016 election, let me tell you.
I'm with you. Yep, for sure. And on that note, we've talked about this. There are some people in the political arena who support cannabis legalization, Nancy Mace, who's horrible on all kinds of things, wants to destroy democracy when laws come up, against a woman's right to choose. So we're showing that there are priorities on that. You're not going to get legalization if they destroy your right to vote and all that. So people should be very careful before they start rah-rahing some people who, it's great, you're pro-weed, but not if you're a horrible human being,
That's very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. So we go after those folks, especially, funded by the Koch brothers. We did a deep dive on it, and it's bad news on some of that, but the vast majority of us are progressive and cool and in the right place.
Yeah. I think the one thing, well, I mean, okay, some of my listeners aren't going to be happy with this, but I have to speak my mind. I believe the Republican Party, like most of these people, aren't Republicans, they're fascists. Like I've now I'm going to tell you, I've had friends who are Republicans. They're conservative, and I'm all, especially when we're talking about cannabis. I just had this conversation with somebody about, THC level taxation. I think that the taxation has gone way overboard. So for like traditional non-death cult Republicans that just believe in, not having high taxes, there's a lot of conversations to have around that. But there's, that's not what we're seeing in the landscape these days. It's not just people disagreeing on taxation and how to support the military.
No, and you can call it out. It's okay if they're banning books about Rosa Parks and stuff. Well, we can just be real clear that we've seen that before, and that's fascism. It's not cool. It's not great, and we got to fight against it for sure.
Yeah. My grandfather didn't go out to the Pacific Theater as a teenager to have fascism in this country.
For sure. And then it leads, unfortunately, into, allowing a lot of these people to come out of the woodwork and just be hateful in all kinds of ways. Our synagogue yesterday had anti-Semitic stuff sprayed all over it, and it's everywhere. And they're leaving it up, interestingly, as an example to show what hatred looks like and how it's in our community. I thought that was an interesting step for them. They said, no, we're not taking it down. We're going to let people see this. And it's like, yeah, we got to fight against hate, all this stuff, So
We do. We
yeah,
do. And people do need to see what's happening. Although, wow, that's it's a sad choice to have to even make.
for sure. On a more positive note,
Yes.
we are engaging voters, as you said, to counter the stoner stereotype thing. The last project we just got involved in, I'll show you on camera, it's the Higher Ground ballot box. And it's a box of cannabis. It's got pre-rolls in here and the American flag and the Bill of Rights. And
I
most
love it.
importantly, there's a QR code on the back that if you scan, it immediately registers you to vote at head count and the Cannabis Voter Project. And you had Sam on your show.
Yeah, Sam's awesome.
Great
I love him.
guy, wonderful, but it's a nonpartisan deal. We're in a bunch of states that aren't necessarily blue. And the idea is just to get folks involved, because I truly believe that the vast majority of us are agreed on 90% of the issues. We really are. Gun control, healthcare for all, a woman's right to choose, legalization. So for me, yeah, if we get a bunch of people I don't really love in there, it's okay, because we're going to get 10-1 of us. So super excited about this project. Got a lot of publicity about it, which was cool. People asking questions about, wait, stoners vote? And you're like, they do now, yeah, we're getting them. But it's cool. That's what we want to do. We just want to do a whole bunch more of that.
That's awesome. And what states are those packs available in?
Because you have to hook it up state by state, it's been really hard for our cannabis partner Saints joints to get the licenses in all the states, but Oregon, Washington, California, Oklahoma, believe it or not,
right on,
Michigan, hoping we're going to New York. So yeah, we're moving in the right direction. I'm not really too involved in that part of it, but I'm hearing how hard it is to find a new partner each time in order to launch it state by state. But yeah, we're rolling along. I think we're in 15 states so far, and we're getting there. Yeah, it's cool. And head count, of course, loves it, so that's good.
Yeah, it is. That's a great thing. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, outside of the fascist extremists, the bipartisan thing with cannabis is a really important thing to have the conversation about.
Yeah.
Because both sides of the aisle like weed. We may not talk about it as much as we should, but it's true.
Right. Yeah. And then I've been an activist in my life on the left with Greenpeace and Sierra Club and the like. And what's cool about cannabis initiatives is that when a state puts it on, it just floods that election with people who are like-minded and progressive, similar to a woman's right to choose. And so I'm loving seeing that. Even if they lose, which is rare, it got the people that we want out there engaged on a topic. Hopefully, of course, they want other topics and they're interested in all of it. But
right.
It doesn't hurt to have something they're like, you know what, I'm getting out and I'm doing it. I'm excited about it. So it's just a great topic like that. Yeah,
it is. It's a great topic, and it does draw people into getting involved with the other issues and thinking about that. And I just wish that there was always that hot topic in every election that would get everybody out, even like, the ones that aren't the presidential elections, because it always,
I know,
people just get tired. They get so worn out. That's, my husband is a musician, and he played with the Grateful Dead for many years. And his view is that with his followers, he needs to use his social media real estate for good. So, the past 8+ years, he's been, talking about politics and the different things and getting people to vote. And the one thing that we've talked about is that people have been getting really weary and tired, and they don't engage as much in those posts. They love our Friday posts where we're happy and we're like, hey, everyone have a great weekend. Cause we do need we need the love and we need the happiness too. But it's been a really arduous past few years with, with Trump being in office, the pandemic, all that crazy stuff with voters' rights. I mean, it's just amazing to me that, not only are we really trying hard to get people more engaged, but people who are engaged are having to fight for their right to be at the ballot box.
Yep, for sure. And it's that negativity and, those topics and the stupid sidelines that they, too many gay people at Disneyland or whatever they're going to do is a strategy for making us weary and just saying, God, I don't even forget all of it. And so people need to realize that that's a winning strategy for the other side, and that we need to fight through some stuff that's very depressing, and you're going to hear a lot of it. And it just is, we'll be positive when we're in the vast majority of seats elected. It's going to be a while, but stay up there, stay positive,
Well, that's it. It takes all of us. And just, fighting the good fight. I mean, I know that sounds incredibly idealistic, but it is really, it's the wearing down of the public is by design so that we don't engage.
Correct. Yes, absolutely. And here, we've been working since we did the ballot box, the higher ground ballot box, on just voter access and stuff with organizations like Democracy Docket and all that. And the best solution for a lot of these states, although they fight against it, are mail-in ballots that literally come to your house, so you don't have to fight the lines or whatever. And it's a no-brainer for anybody who has that. The stamp is paid for, it comes, and it's 5 minutes of your time instead of standing in a line and whatever. So it's amazing those states that have all the restrictions really respect those people for continuing on. But we also need to fight to make it easier for everybody, because they're peeling them off one by one, So that's another thing we work on. Hopefully your listeners will, support organizations like Head Count and When We All Vote, and just so many of them, and I could name a dozen, but they're all great, and they're worthy of you, just signing up for a newsletter, or if you have extra dough, get them money, because they're fighting it in all 50 states. It's great.
Yeah. I love that. I love the fact that there's more access than ever before, especially because everyone's on the internet these days, of, getting to actually educate yourself on what's on the ballot. And that's another thing I love about the mail-in ballots, because we have those in California. Before I used to go to the polls, I'd be like, on the computer, reading about everything, making my notes, because there's always like one weird little prop that I'm like, what the heck was that? What was what do I want to vote for on that? And it's like, when you have it at home, you can actually have all your notes there, go through it, and for people who, especially during the pandemic, seniors and people with compromised immune systems, being able to have, feel safe.
Oh yeah.
During the voting process.
Yeah. And it can be confusing. A judge, if you just go in blindly, you're not going to know, nonpartisan, but they're not nonpartisan. I'm sorry.
No, they're not. Yeah. Well, and then as you know, there are some people who state that they're from certain they're from certain sides of the aisle, and they are not, because we're having some strategic choices around that too. Hello, Kristen Cinema. That's a whole other story for another day, really. But I mean, you know what I mean.
Yes, indeed, yes. Don't speak of her.
No. But it's like, when I was younger, and you'd have a couple that would catch you by surprise, and you'd be like, oh, I'll just check this. Got to do something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That one doesn't look too bad. Try that. At least I'm here.
Yeah. Follow the money. See where they're getting funded, for sure. Yeah.
That's it. And I have to say, it's really, I always found that when I was younger, I wasn't as political. As I got older and I started to see the impact of things, I became more political. But I really have to hand it to some of the younger generations now. Like, I sound like this whole old lady. Those younger generations, how active they are, and the things that they're doing. It really, with all of the stuff that's been happening in the past few years, that has been wearing us down. On the bright side, we have very active young generation out there that know that there are things that aren't right, and that everybody has a right to live a happy life and to have a home and food and to be cared for and to be able to vote. How
Yeah,
awesome
yeah.
is that?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, the future's so bright you got to wear shades, as they say. Yeah, it is, and that is inspirational. And hopefully these young people are patient, because it's gonna be a while. Some of us have been working on gun control for 40 years now. But we're going to we'll allow sooner rather than later, of course. But really inspirational group of folks.
Yeah, yeah, and
Very
I
cool.
love seeing that a lot of them are running for office, and just seeing some bright, shiny, fresh faces that are full of passion that haven't been worn down yet.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
they're they're certainly not as cynical as I am these
Oh, come
days.
on, we're fresh. We're fresh.
So fresh,
No,
so
yeah.
fresh.
Yes. Precious it is.
So what else has been going on? What else are you excited about these days?
Let's see. We're starting to get we want to do mainstream projects wherever they're doing stuff that includes alcohol. We're gonna try and push and allow it to be for cannabis. Major League Baseball, we want concession stands to be able to have edibles there. They're selling brewskis, and people get wasted and get in fights. And we're like, let's do cannabis. Let's go. I will say that project is going nowhere, but we are pushing it. And I just like having the conversation and having people compare. Oh, wow, that is true. They have all this stuff here. Why not?
Yeah.
We're going to do a Stone Symphony with the Seattle Symphony that's lined up. And so that'll be really cool. It's going to have to be jury rigged in terms of where we can fire up and do our things. But that kind of thing, I've been trying to do a Museum of Modern Arts night where people can have cannabis related. But, they have galas with champagne and cocktail specials for stuff. It's just we got to go mainstream. And then that discussion about cannabis being safer than alcohol. Buddy of mine is the guy who prints up those shirts. It's a really helpful adjustment for me when I'm talking to somebody about, hey, is it okay? Like, I heard, people are getting schizophrenic or whatever. And you're like, let's just back this up and talk about the stuff that's legal. Cannabis isn't perfect or whatever, like I say, I wouldn't suggest you be dabbing 8 times a day or at all, frankly. But compared to Red Bull and red wine and pharmaceutical drugs and blah, 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 it's a safe deal. And so we're trying at Higher Ground, we're trying to have events that push that, get people maybe who haven't tried it to have a safe space to go ahead and do that with something fabulous, like the symphony or what have you. And I think that'll be all positive, and fun to film, of course.
Oh yeah.
And so that'll be good. We obviously, it for some reason, I don't know, Reefer Madness or whatever, it's way harder to create an event with cannabis than it is, booze. They had the shot for shot thing during the vaccines, bars all over the country. You get a free shot if you show your card. So we, along with the guys in DC, did joints for jabs at a bunch of locations. And here in Washington, we give you a joint if you go get a vaccine or whatever and can prove it. And we went to the clinics that were there, and they wouldn't clear it here in Washington. That, all kinds of red tape. And we just said, you know what, we already lined up the volunteers, all the people, we got the weed, so we just went. And it would have been even better for the news if they'd arrested us. So let's do it, let's go. But there's going to have to be some pushback because there's just still a stigma. And that's okay. We'll fight it. I mean, it's been, Reefer Madness is 80 years or whatever that. So it's going to take us some time to really overturn it, but that's one of our big goals.
I think that's wonderful. I know Outside Lands has been doing grasslands for a few years, and they've had to change different things with the model. Not, it's gone great with like the public, but just like figuring out ways that it's actually a worthwhile thing for the vendors to even go, because there's a lot of different things with that. But having consumption areas at events, I think, is something that is going to catch on. We are having more conversations about it. I remember back in the day, I used to have, occasionally do like these underground salons. They were parties where we would have music and there would be cannabis. And I remember it was really difficult for me to find spaces often to rent for these because they'd be like, oh, I don't know. And then when I would do it afterwards, whoever I rented from was like, that was amazing. Nobody trashed my bathroom. No one got in a fight. Nobody
Right.
vomited. You were
Yeah.
all so chill and nice and
Cleaned up afterwards.
yeah, they're like, everybody kind of pitched in afterwards and cleaned
Yeah.
up. You guys are great. Come back anytime.
Nice.
You
Yeah.
know, but it's having more of those conversations and really looking at, you know, what we're doing with it. And I think that changes a lot of things. Like I haven't gone down to West Hollywood yet, but I'm really curious to see what's going on there with like consumption lounges, and they've been really doing a lot to kind of push forward the public consumption idea. And I think it's great.
Yeah, I'll go with you. Let's go to Woody Harrelson's thing out there. Lick Swank.
Let's do it. I'm totally down. Be like, hey,
right.
Woody.
Yeah, hey, what's up? Let's go. The woods or something. It looks like really like if I idealize one, that'd be it or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one, Lowell's Cafe, looked incredible too. And apparently it didn't work for some reason. I have no idea why it closed.
Yeah, there were some complications with that. But if I recall correctly, I believe that it opened again under somebody else.
Oh, good. Yeah, it looked awesome. The menu looked incredible. It's just, you know, like I say, elevating the thing, ferns everywhere, and it was lush.
And you have to hand it to them. I mean, they did a lot of the heavy lifting to make the initial thing happen, which makes it paves the way for everybody else to be able to do it and learn from, you know, the experience that they had.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Love that. Yeah.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah. And, you know, and from a social justice standpoint, it's like, you know, people who live in Section 8 housing can't use cannabis in their homes. They need a safe place to go.
Yeah. Yep. For sure. And they're not mixing them with alcohol. So it's a straight cannabis deal or whatever.
Right.
And yeah, no, I think it's really positive. I was in Palm Springs recently and there were a couple lounges there that I popped into that were a little dingy at the moment, but the people were really cool, and we checked it out. There's a billiards table or whatever, and nobody's getting in fights, and you know, we're moving in the right direction. Just going to take some time to get the details, and like you say, I think it is the experience with, oh, I went to this thing and I thought it was going to be, you know, one thing, a mosh pit, and instead it was actually very sophisticated or whatever it is. I always push when I go to a party to bring a gift. Instead of a bottle of wine, I get some high-end swank box of pre-rolls or whatever, and see what the reaction of the parents or whoever is about. If they're aghast, I'm like, you know, it's gonna be fine. You hide it, you don't have to put it out or whatever. But right. Most people are like, oh, thank good, I haven't been to a dispensary, thank you, or whatever. And we are always highlighting the high-end, you know, vaporizers and all the groovy stuff that's here, because there's amazing stuff that's going on. The can just really great packaging and thoughtful, and you know, so I love all that stuff. I'm a geek for all that stuff.
I love that too, and I really love the fact that there's becoming more education and push around why sun-grown cannabis is wonderful too. Because like when I first started working in a dispensary, I'd be like, yeah, well, you know, it's inexpensive. It does. I used to joke, she's not pretty, but she gets the job done. Right. You know,
right?
But you know, but it's like, you know, when you get really like somebody who knows what they're doing with outdoor cannabis, it's a really wonderful experience. Actually, it was my friend Ngaio. You know Ngaio Bilam, right?
I don't think so.
He's a comedian.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Comedic, yes. I love him. Yeah.
So he was actually like the first person who turned me on to really good outdoor weed. We were chilling one day and he had come back from Washington and he had brought this gram for me of a cultivar called Gummy Bear. And it was flavorful. It smelled wonderful. The effects were great. And I was like, this is like, we should be having more conversations about this. And of course, my friend guy was like, turned me on to it because he's, dialed into that stuff. And it's just, talking to people about it. And he's got an amazing sense of humor. I mean, he is a comedian after all.
Yes. That's good. That's good. Yeah. But going and just showing people sort of what's available. And they're like, I'm not into it because it's harsh. You say, oh, I'll show you this electric vaporizer that's $900. And you'll just all the stuff.
Yeah.
We'll have martini shakers or whatever, and we've got our own, whatever it is. And so I'm into it, and we highlight it a lot, just for the hell of it. But I'm into the tools of the trade, the fun toys. Now I want to grab a bunch of them and
I know, right?
All the little toys. Oh my God.
I know. I have a box of I have a bunch of stuff in the house, but when I moved in with my husband, I put a bunch of my stuff in storage, and he's like, "Why do you need to keep these?" I'm like, "They're my specimens.
Oh yeah.
I can't let go of this box of glass and vapes and random old products from the 215 days that I just had to keep because I know I'll probably never see anything like that again."
See, you and I are exactly the same. I have maybe they're still going, but I would never have them myself because it's stupid. Pop rocks or whatever, cannabis infused pop rocks. That's disgusting. I go, I'll buy one of those. It says $15. I'll buy it. And it's sitting around somewhere because it's fantastic. Although I don't like maybe kids are getting into that, but hide your stash and it'll be fine. But it's just hilarious.
It is hilarious. There are some that were just so bad though that I just wanted. I never would have used them, but I just wanted to have them just for the sake. I wish I had gotten a sample of Cannabumps. Would have never used it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But just
for those who don't know, it's basically fake cocaine. Ugh. Anyway,
so gross.
The worst marketing, the worst everything. Yeah, you should have gotten
one. The worst, but that's why you want to have it. You want to be like, this is what not to do.
We're not
kids
doing this. I would have liked to have tried it one time. Oh, that would have been horrible.
Oh, I
just that shit, and it was white.
Oh, I just think about the grit in your nose. It's like,
that's bad. That's bad. But hey, legalize it. No, that was horrible. I'll show you because I have one on my desk. This is my favorite little tool. This is the grasshopper vape that looks like a pen because I'm a writer, so I put it in my suit jacket.
Nice.
And you just click the thing, and then you fire it up. I just love it. I think they're out of business. Anyway, grasshopper, just some kids out of somewhere in Colorado, and I was like, that's the best thing ever. It was awesome.
I love that. Well, and that's the thing. There are all these, products that come and go, but then people grow from that and they come up with these other new innovative things. I'm pretty basic. I have my glass bowl, I have my Puffco. I got rid of my old industrial dab rig that I used to keep under my sink that I actually had a torch from the hardware store to use.
Of course.
Back when you'd open up a container of wax and you'd smell the butane,
Ew.
It was so gross.
Let me ask you about that. What do you think about, are you concerned that there are situations that it's just way too powerful and somebody's, on their ass basically?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that, sometimes, people are like, oh, well, this is too strong. Nobody should have it. Well, I think that it's more that there's a smaller amount of the public that actually serves. I have a friend with cerebral palsy. And she has stutter and spasticity. And when she dabs, that higher cannabinoid content actually calms her muscles and she's as clear as a bell.
Wow.
That's an awesome thing for her. But going to parties and seeing someone being overserved at the dab bar and then watching them hit the floor, that's not cool. And I think that it's, it can be overkill for a lot of people. I love, enjoying a really fine hash that's dabbable in small amounts where you can really taste the flower and the terpene profile, but I'm not into the big fat dabs, and I'm not yucking anybody's yum, but I think for most of us it's too much. It actually drives up tolerance.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and back in the day when there was less solventless and more things that were, like butane extractions and things like that, the people who would get those and come see me and get, several grams on the regular, their pallor was off. Like, our endocannabinoid system really can only handle so much. And then you're going beyond homeostasis, like you're doing something else. And, I'll never judge, but I do observe.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just think, to some, it's similar with booze or whatever. There's, if you've got such a high tolerance that if somebody wants to share a joint with you and you got nothing that's not affecting you, there's a downside to that,
Yeah,
basically.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Everclear, great for cleaning glass. Don't want to drink it.
Back in the day, grape juice. Come on.
Maybe throw some random fruits in there and have it like in the big garbage can, like in college.
Proud of you. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
I
thought we were going to elevate the dialogue in the show, but it turned out we're just jugs of Everclear.
We're going everywhere here.
How to do it. I'll show you. No, it's great. It's awesome. And having a sense of humor, honestly, about this stuff is what we're trying to do. I think a lot of the reason, well, I won't blame anybody, but the marketing of the legalization thing has to emphasize part of it, that the great artists or whatever are using weed to do wonderful things. Giggling is good for you. I mean, just the pot, instead of all, decriminalization and all that, which of course is huge, but I think folks just, it's a damn good time. It's safer than booze. And, you got Carlos Santana because of it or whatever, so
absolutely.
We need to emphasize it.
Yeah. Well, and, I think there's something where the industry a lot of times will say, oh, all we need is formula retail. All we need is the tired tropes. We'll do a little bit of things for the ladies and, the Chardonnay moms. We won't forget them. But by and large, we're just going to kind of go with the status quo. And I think that they're really missing a huge portion of the public who either, used it a long time ago, might be kind of curious, may not have even considered it. And so we have to have that grown-up conversation.
No doubt. Yeah. Yeah. You know about mom grass, this brand, mom grass?
And dad grass. Yeah.
Mom and dad grass. Smart call. Get people in. It's basically the stuff you used to get in garbage bags and have to get the seeds out and, just like barely do anything. But yes, let's nudge them along, Exactly. Yeah.
You know how I've gotten some of my mom friends interested? Beverages. I love this thing from I don't know if you've heard of the brand Pure Beauty. They have a brand, they have little strong drink. It's this little bottle. It looks like something you'd get. It reminds me of Alice in Wonderland. It's this little white bottle. It should almost say drink me. It's got a tag on it.
Yeah.
But a capful is 10 milligrams. And so when my friend Leah comes over, she's my next door neighbor. She's a teacher. Hi, everyone. My friend's a teacher, and she likes. I think teachers should get discounts on weed, honestly.
No doubt.
But for her, she takes 5 milligrams to put half a capful over some ice, squeeze a lemon, put in some soda water, and it's a cocktail. And we sit in the yard, and she's like, "Wow, it's chill. It's nice."
The show is now Martha Stewart, by the way. We just went from like decriminalization to Martha Stewart. And I like to squeeze a little bit of lemon in it. And then you have speaking of Pure Beauty, I was just in California, bought their mini joints. There was 10 of them in this cute little package, $65.
I know.
I bought it anyway because it was adorable. But that's outrageous. We got to find a way. Well, you're working on it. You're on committees. You go. You do it.
I'm trying. Well, and what people don't realize is that Imelda doesn't want us to charge that much for it. It's all those taxes that are like put in there, and it's nuts. By the way, in your state, are they talking about THC taxation?
I don't know the answer to that. Yeah, I don't know.
We've started exploring it here. And actually there are some researchers from UCLA that are doing some research on it to see the feasibility of it for the state. And I was talking with them. And for those of you out there, if anyone asks you, it's not a good idea. And that's, I would say that's my opinion, but it's just not a good idea because the people who need THC the most, the higher amounts, are some of the most critically ill. And they're not, you can say that they're going to go into the medical programs, but the medical programs are going away.
Yeah,
Yes, you can get your card here in California and it'll offset the sales taxes. But for somebody who's critically ill, they may not be able to afford that card. It may not make sense to them. And on top of that, there are so few people that participate in the medical programs because of the cost or the lack of knowledge that they exist, that higher THC products being put on a medical menu just isn't going to happen. There's no retailer within their right mind that's going to be holding on to product and using valuable real estate to hold on to it when they don't know if they're even going to sell it.
for sure. Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's good knowledge. Good to know.
I'm getting off my soapbox now, Michael.
No, I like it. I wouldn't have known which way to go on that. So that is a no-brainer when you describe and explain it. It absolutely, you don't want to hurt the people who really do need it. And so, yeah, absolutely.
Well, it'd be different if it was, a health issue. Like if it was all these people are dabbing large amounts of wax and it's
Right.
affecting, but there aren't as many people who do that as one would think. I think you and I come into contact with more of them because we have more colleagues in the industry who enjoy things like that.
Mhm.
But by and large, the public is not indulging in that as much as they are flour or gummies. These are two of the most popular things or cartridges,
Mhm.
which, I kind of go back and forth on how I feel about that.
Ew.
Yeah.
I just like flour. I just am into it. So, whatever people want to do. But a lot of that stuff, I mean, the machine themselves, so there's battery leakage on some of them or whatever. And then you don't necessarily know what's in all the oil. I don't know.
You don't.
Flour.
Yeah. Flour is the way to go. I remember back in the day, when they used to put propylene glycol in with the cartridges. And I was like, and they're like, well, it's also in inhalers. I'm like, yeah, but you're not firing the inhalers up. And you de-ice airplanes with that shit. Like, let's talk about that.
Holy smokes. Yeah. Yeah. God, no wonder they hide it with a bunch of orange flavoring. Ugh.
Yeah, the flavoring thing too. I love terpenes. Love them.
Of course.
I don't want grape flavored weed.
Nah, not necessarily, unless it's organic coming that way from the thing.
Now, I love grape ape, but I don't like grape bubble gum. No way.
Yeah.
And that's when you go into the what about the children and youth access.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's that, and then I also think we should rename all of those napalm, all the stupid names. It's not helping us either that they have.
It isn't.
Forget it.
And if you've ever had a Vietnam vet go after you because you've got Agent Orange on the menu,
right?
You haven't lived till you've had that. I had one that was so mad he was spitting, and I was like, oh, but then I had to tell him, I'm like, I understand. I'm like.
Yeah.
But the reality is it's named after the punk band Agent Orange that was named after that. He's like, it's still bad.
It's
anyway,
bad.
I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah. No, just stick with permafrost or whatever. You'll be fine. Nobody's going to be mad.
That's it. I remember we had a flower and they're like, oh yeah, we call it green crack. We're like, oh, we're not doing that. It's green goddess. Let's do green goddess.
There you go. Alaskan thunderfuck is fine. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, also a drag queen's named.
Oh, nice.
So there you go. It can take our show to Tennessee.
Oh my God. We've covered it all, I think. Holy smokes. That's good. That's what I was hoping. Is that a beverage with THC in it? Are you sucking that down? No.
Just water today. Right. Okay. I start with coffee, stop before 2:00 because at my age I'll stay up all night, and then I switch to water. But come around 4:00.
4:20. Oh my God, it's almost, when this shows, it won't be. I won't even say the date. We're almost up to a big date in 2 days that people celebrate.
The high holidays.
Yeah, there it is.
What do you have planned? What are you doing?
I actually don't think of that day much. I'll watch the media craziness and share, we went after somebody, once again, was in the industry who's well known, did this 10,000-pound brownie on 420 at one point, and everybody covered it, and that was great. And I was like, that's not cool, man. Again, if you had, if it was Stoli vodka in a swimming pool or whatever, we wouldn't be celebrating it too much. So I like the fun stuff. We launched our comedians in cars smoking cannabis on 420 at one point, and we might roll out another comedian, do one of those, mocking Seinfeld's thing.
I love that.
But people should celebrate. It's great. It's all good.
Yeah.
And then we did do something. If people want to start with a video, they should see we did cannabis and coffee. They had a product that was cannabis and coffee. I don't know if there's a lot of that now, but Legend did one a long time, or it was Legal, it was called. And we tried it and did a piece on it, and I was just jacked out of my mind or whatever, both on caffeine and weed. And I was like, this is, my heart was pounding. It was not a good thing. But
you know what they call that, right?
Mm-mm.
Seattle Speedball.
Seattle what?
Speedball.
Ah, perfect. Not suggested. Don't like it. Separate your joys. Coffee,
Indeed.
weed, booze, whatever else you want to do, separate them out from my perspective. Anyway, it was fun to try. I tried all that except for the bumps, the canna bumps. Neither one of us got to try that. Thank God, we'd be dead. But yeah, it was funny, and I'm happy to. It's not going to kill you, but boy, it was too jittery for me. I didn't like it.
Yeah, I feel like cannabis and coffee go really well together, but I don't know that I want infused coffee. Although I have to say that when we had it in California, there were a lot of people who really enjoyed it. Like they used to have like espresso shots that had cannabis in there. Now I could see cannabis with some CBD in there to take the edge off if you're a little sensitive,
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, what's the one with booze? That's the flatliner. Have you ever had a flatliner?
No,
For those
what's
who
that?
sucked it. It's a martini, a shaken martini with espresso in it, and a little Kahlua or whatever. It's fantastic. You're drunk and jacked up. Just what we need. More people like that. But I was all the rage for 5 years or something. And yeah, great. Flatliners. I'll make you one. That'll be great.
We'll have to do it before 2:00. Otherwise I'll be up all night looking like an owl. I'll just be like,
Aw, that's adorable.
I used to be able to do it when I was a young one. I could drink a pot of coffee and go to sleep, but not so much anymore.
Aw.
Oh my God. If people want to and everyone listening, I really suggest you check out the Higher Ground series. It's awesome, especially if you like something that's like kind of a Daily Show format, which I'm a huge fan of.
As am I. Yep.
Really
We say it's Good Morning America meets Fox and Friends, just with a giant bong on the table. So that's we hate those guys, obviously. But anyway, that's our description. Highergroundtv.com has a bunch of our stuff, and we're on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, and just Google us, search us, Michael Stusser. You'll find us.
Now, is on social media, are you also talking about future projects and things that you're working on?
Yes, we are.
Awesome.
Yep, we are. Although we'd probably gonna split. Speaking of fascists, split from Twitter soon, because don't like the vibe. Anybody who's mocking PBS or NPR is an idiot. So we'll have to see about that, because we have quite the following on there, but I'm not supporting that.
Well, that's another one where it's like they're giving cannabis an opportunity to advertise, but do you really want to be a part of that?
Good question. The answer is no, but yep, exactly.
Yeah. Be discerning, folks. Just because there's an opportunity doesn't mean it's a good one.
I love that. Thank you, by the way, for having me. It's awesome.
Oh,
really.
Thank you. And I'm really looking forward to continuing the conversation with you. This was so much fun.
Agreed.
Please come back anytime. And for those of you out there, check it out. Michael has a lot of great content. It's not only, engaging and funny. You're going to learn a lot. So until next time, my friend, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And everyone remember, Planted is twice a month. And if you like listening, please Give us a review, share it with a friend, let us know what your favorite episodes are, and if you'd like to stay in touch over social media, we are Planted with Sara Pion on Facebook and Planted with Sara on Instagram and Twitter. You can also go to our website, www.plantedwithsara.com, or listen to us on our parent network, Radio Misfits Network, where there are other great podcasts, like one of my favorites, the Winemakers Podcast. So check it out. You can listen to Planted wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, whether that's Pandora, Spotify, Amazon, Google, Apple, Stitcher. Tune in. We are there. So join us. And until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, it's a wild world out there. Be good to one another. Until next time, take care.